Welcome back to another DFS NFL Showdown breakdown by Hold the Door DFS, also known as Chris. I'm really excited for these showdowns. The contests are great. There's a lot of differentiated ways to go in your builds, and there's a lot of ways in cash that kind of cornerstone strategies that have worked really well so far this season. So I appreciate all the support on these videos so far. So give it a like if you are enjoying our content at Fantasy Sports Insight. And be on the lookout for our other NFL content as well. If you aren't subscribed to the channel, please do so. That helps us out a ton. And then you'll be notified when we have other content out as well. So let's dive into the slate. We have Cincinnati and Cleveland. We are going to start with our odds here from Bovada. And obviously you can look at whatever book you use. But there's a general consensus here that Cleveland is favored. They are a 6-point favorite here, 43.5 over under. So not, looking like a little bit more points than our Denver-Tennessee game, but probably a little bit less fireworks than we saw with the Pittsburgh game. So let's move into our builds and just, kind of why I like to look at the odds is that, a 6-point favorite for the Browns, if I'm just game scripting, which is usually the best way to be successful at NFL Showdown, is that a game script would, 6 points, it's not a huge spread, but in NFL, it's bigger than average. And I think that, that lends us a little bit more towards the running game for Cleveland and maybe a positive game script for the passing game for the Bengals. So let's hop in. Joe Burrow getting the number one spot on the slate for the price tag, which seems pretty crazy. I think, if you look at his performance, I think he played well in the first game. He was bailed out, fantasy-wise by the 25-yard touchdown run that he had, but he was fairly active, like 8 attempts for 46 yards. He had the 23-yard touchdown run. So I do think that is actually going to be an implied floor for him going forward. I don't know how much he will run, but I do think that he is mobile enough that he might, get a couple points and then maybe a rushing touchdown here or there. So obviously, it was a pretty tough matchup for him. But I do think that, he could have even done more if they went to miss the game time field goal. So Joe Burrow, I do like in a vacuum just better than Baker Mayfield. I think A, the game script favors Burrow, and B, I think that I don't know. I just like Burrow. The Browns are going to be without their number 2 and number 3 corners. So I think that definitely bodes well for the passing game for Cincinnati. Baker is definitely in playing cash. He just hasn't done anything. I know it's the first game, but we know what we saw at the end of last year. We know that they relied on Chubb to be really successful last year, and they got away from that this last game. Basically, it wasn't their fault. They were down by so many points to the Ravens, but I would assume they want to get this game script going in a direction that they can use Chubb. The fact that, Hunt and Chubb basically matched snap counts, that just kind of tells you what happened to their offense that game. They were in a lot of passing situations. So Burrow over Mayfield, if price doesn't matter to me. If you really need the savings, you can go down to Mayfield, but I prefer Burrow. AJ Green, let's go to the receivers. I'm just going to talk about the receivers here for Cincinnati. We have AJ Green, Tyler Boyd, and Mr. Speed Demon, John Ross. My first inkling is going to be geared a little bit more towards Tyler Boyd. AJ Green, just kind of looking at my notes here, I think if you look at what Willie Snead did last week for Baltimore against Cleveland, you're going to see Boyd in the slot. So I think I don't know. I just like the price is $2,000 cheaper. I think he still has a nice implied floor. I think AJ Green led the team in targets, if I remember right. Maybe it was 9 targets. So he did try to get the ball to him, and Burrow, even at LSU, liked the big play. So I'm not saying that AJ Green is not in play, but I do think and he only had 5 targets. But I do think for the price difference of 2,000 and in a matchup that's going to be actually better for just a receiver versus corner combo, I prefer Tyler Boyd. AJ Green is definitely in play though, so again, he would be in a favorable position in a positive game script for the Bengals. The rest of the Bengals, we have Joe Mixon at running back. Again, somebody who, he had 40 snaps, Gio Bernard at 20. Again, in a game script that's more in favor of Cincinnati, you would likely see those snap counts down for Gio. Obviously, they're in a passing situation. So Joe Mixon in play at 8,600. We know he does have the upside to catch the ball. He doesn't need to be out of the game on third down situations, but I think when they know it's exclusively passing, then it does make it harder for him to be on the field. But I do like him. He feels a little bit too cheap at 8,600 for his upside. Going down to Cincinnati, I'm just gonna touch on Uzuma. He was way cheaper last slate, if I remember right. I think like even I think he was like sub. They don't have the salary on here. Oh yeah, 3,600. 3,600. That was awesome. He had 5 targets last week, which was pretty crazy. So I was hoping we get a similar price tag on him or something pretty cheap. 5,000 is still okay, but you get a little bit more upside with John Ross for like a long touchdown, and then you can be safer and go with like some kicking targets like Parkey or Bullock. So I think that's kind of where a range that you're going to fall in with some of your builds, and in cash builds you'll likely see people go more for the kickers. But I do think Uzuma and John Ross provide some more upside with touchdown equity that you might not get with. Obviously, you don't get that with the kickers. But the defenses are definitely in play as well, because I do think that both quarterbacks are prone to turning the ball over, and that could definitely happen in this game. So staying on Cincinnati side of the ball, you got Gio Bernard here. He had 6.8 points last week. Again, only 1 carry. He had 4 catches. But again, don't be fooled by those numbers, because I don't think he's going to have 4 catches a game. He will catch a few balls, but I think when we see the fact that they were down a lot the whole game and they had to pass, that was the reason that he was in the game. So let's move back up and look at Cleveland side of the ball. I already talked about Baker Mayfield. I really like OBJ, 8,200. I know Jarvis Landry is questionable, so obviously if he is out, that bumps OBJ a ton. Just the targets are going to go his way. But he had a really big drop that would have really flipped his day. And I think 2 penalties he drew, or I think, either he drew or he was involved in plays that he was involved in. So I do think the stats are a little bit skewed if you look a little bit closer to the game. But what I do really like on the Cleveland side is OBJ and Nick Chubb. I think they are going to get back to Chubb. And again, people that only look at the game logs are going to be fooled by Kareem Hunt's performance a little bit. Not saying that he doesn't have upside, and he does catching the ball. Obviously, he has an implied floor just of how many targets he's going to get out of the backfield. But if we do see Cleveland up a touchdown or 2 in the second half, they're going to feed Chubb. I just don't see how they don't go back to what really worked for him well last year. Going down a little bit further, we got Hooper. Didn't really play that well. Njoku had the touchdown and now is injured, so I think that does boost Hooper a little bit. We know what he did in Atlanta, and he definitely has the skill set to get there. But when you're relying on Baker, that could be another play if Landry is out, that would bump up him. I think Landry plays, and Landry is actually a decent play as well. A little bit more probably safer in terms of cash, just running those slot routes, and just always seems to get 4 or 5 catches. Moving down with them, there's not a ton of other things that I really want to talk about for them. Odell Beckham, going back to him, one note that I had down that I missed, 10 targets last game. So that Baker was trying to get him the ball. It just, wasn't connecting. Obviously, nothing was working for Cleveland. So I think definitely get back to OBJ. I think the talent level is too high. They know they need to feed him the ball. So I think, he is certainly in play at that price. If you're looking for some really deep flyers, I think, Rashard Higgins only played 16 snaps, 1,800. If Landry is out, obviously we'd probably see a bump with him there. Otherwise, I think we had another Hodge. What was he playing? he played 40 snaps in the game, so at 400, which is pretty crazy. Again, remember the game script was heavily in their favor. So this could be a super, super deep sleeper. The fact that he had 3 targets for 400, if he catches a ball or two, he's probably hitting value for you there. And then Mike Thomas, not the one who is going to be out for a while, but he had 15 offensive snaps, tied with Tate and T. Higgins, and he had 3 targets. So $200, can't go wrong there. If he gets you 3.7, you're pretty happy, assuming whatever you are using him to get to in terms of a pay-up player produces. So there's a couple, mid-price pumps basically, but I think you will want to start a lot of your builds with, OBJ, potentially Burrow, and then I really like Tyler Boyd and or AJ Green to pair with Burrow in a positive game script for the Cincinnati passing game, and then Chubb would be in a really nice position when Cleveland has the lead late. All right. Again, I appreciate all the support. Feel free to hit subscribe, like. We appreciate it all. Hopefully you can apply this analysis to some of the other DFS things. I use it for Monkey Knife Fight. I use it. You can use it on FanDuel as well. If you're looking for Monkey Knife Fight plays, come over to our Discord channel. It's completely free. I'm going to be using a little chart to send out for some of these big NFL games to try to find an edge for our members. So again, I'm going to be signing out. Hold the door DFS. Hit me up on Twitter if you have any questions. We really appreciate the support at Fantasy Sports Insight and hope to see you coming back and checking out more of our content. Thanks a lot.